Communications with the client. Okay. So when you are talking to your client, you know that's one of the big ways that people get in trouble, right? So things that people get in trouble for: messing with trust money, messing with their clients' money, or not communicating. That's the one thing clients get mad about. So you really have to ensure, does the client fully understand the litigation finance agreement, and how has that information been communicated to them? Multiple phone calls, in writing, Q&A session with the litigation finance company, which should absolutely be on the table and should absolutely be something that the finance company should be willing to do, to really fully explain what's going on and how this agreement is going to be arranged. Communicating with the client, also it means that you have to do it in a way that is reasonably accessible to them, right? And where do I get that language reasonable? Model Rule 1.4. And Model Rule 1.4 says that a lawyer shall reasonably consult with the client about the means by which the client's objectives are to be accomplished, and the lawyer shall explain a matter to the extent reasonably necessary to permit the client to make informed decisions regarding the representation. And here I want to take a moment, because sending just the finance agreement is really not enough. And in fact, actually, it's too much. Talking to a client, really, it has to be about what's the reasonable way to do this. They don't need to know, and it may just be more confusing for them to learn about every detail, every term, every single line of the financing agreement. What they need to understand is, how much is it going to cost them, right? That they remain in control, the fact that it's not going to create conflicts, and it shouldn't create conflicts, how much money they should expect to make at the end of this deal, and they should have a reasonable understanding of whether they are or not over leveraged against the potential recovery. And I will tell you, one thing I used to hear about before I came into this space. In fact, I was talking to people about taking this job, and I was talking to other lawyers about it, and I would hear these horror stories about people who took litigation finance and then ended up with no recovery for themselves, for the plaintiffs. And I thought, that's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. And now that I'm on this side, I look at it and I'm thinking, were the lawyers really over leveraging that case? Or did the plaintiff not understand that they were over leveraging the case? Because a case can crater. I know this. I've seen it happen to my own cases. It sometimes happens. But when you go into it, part of your ethical duty as the attorney is to be clear in your communications about how much can you expect to recover from this case, how much is going to go to the finance company, and what happens if you recover something, but it's not the whole amount. And there's also a question of being cautious in how much financing you obtain for a case, so that you will not eat up all of the recovery, both for the lawyer, but most importantly for the plaintiff, if the judgment comes out to be lower than it is. So this is I'm just sharing something internally from our company. We expect to see a 1-to-10 ratio. We expect to invest no more than 10% of the expected recovery. And that protects us, and it protects the plaintiff, and it protects the lawyer. Because if a case craters to the point where you got 1/10 of the case of the recovery, then something happened to the case itself, right? Like something went wrong, but you're supposed to give yourself enough margin so that that won't happen. And I take that very seriously and very personally, because it's certainly something that I heard about a lot. And that to me is devastating, especially with my plaintiff's attorney background. The plaintiff should be able to get something out of this, right? That's the whole point of them having undergone this process.